Hello and welcome to English Avenue Podcast.
Your cozy place to learn easy English through real daily life conversations. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jake. We're really happy you're here with us. Maybe walking, cooking, cleaning, or taking a little break from homework or work.
And if you're secretly listening in the back of a classroom, we didn't hear that. But seriously, thank you for pressing play and spending your time with us.
So before we start, how was your morning, Anna? Calm or a little crazy?
A little crazy, actually. I walked past the school this morning and I saw students with that exam face. You know, big eyes, coffee in hand, whispering, "Did you study this chapter?"
Oh, that face. Half awake, half terrified.
Exactly. And I thought, wow, that used to be me, waiting outside the exam room, holding my notes, pretending to be calm.
Same. I remember that walk into the exam room, desks in straight lines, windows half open, everyone pretending to be brave.
Yeah, you sit down, put your pen on the table, look around, and suddenly the room is so quiet you can hear people breathing.
And you can hear the teacher's shoes on the floor. Step, 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 bringing the exam papers like some kind of serious music.
Then they say, "Good luck." And for a second, you think, I don't need luck, I need another week.
Yeah, but still, there's something special about that moment. You, the paper, the pen, and your whole year in front of you.
Right. If you're listening and you've ever walked into an exam feeling like that, you're very, very normal.
It's kind of funny and kind of sad. We spend so many years in school doing tests and chasing grades.
And then one day, real life says, okay, now talk to people, solve problems, make decisions.
And sometimes we feel, wait, I know how to pass an exam, but I don't know if I know how to live.
Yeah. I've had students tell me I was a good student on paper, but in my first job, I felt lost.
Maybe you feel that too. Maybe you were or are a good student with marks and certificates, but you still feel unsure in real situations, at work, in interviews, or in real English conversations.
And that's exactly what we want to talk about today. Education, exams, and real-life skills.
Not just, are exams good or bad, but a bigger question. What do exams actually give us, and what do they not give us for real life?
And don't worry, this won't be a boring school lecture. We'll share stories, feelings, and simple phrases you can use to talk about your own education in English.
And just so you know, this episode is around B1 level. The English will be simple, slow, and natural, so you can really follow the conversation.
If you're an intermediate learner, this is for you. And if you're a strong beginner, you can still catch a lot. Just take the parts you understand and let the rest wash over you. No pressure.
Also, we'll do a calm word tour at the end. We'll slow down and explain some useful phrases from today, like book smart, street smart, soft skills, hands-on experience, skill gap, and more.
So if a phrase feels interesting, but you're not 100% sure what it means, don't worry. Stay with us. We'll unpack it later in the word tour.
And if you enjoy learning English like this, through real conversations, you can like this episode and subscribe to the English Leap podcast. It really helps more learners find us.
And we'd love to hear from you. After you listen, try to write one simple sentence in the comments. You can tell us, I was book smart in, or one real-life skill I want to build is...
Your sentence doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a little practice, and we really enjoy reading your stories.
All right, so we've talked about exam faces and school corridors. Let's go a bit deeper now and look at how many of us first met education. Exams, grades, and a lot of pressure.
Yes. So, Anna, when you hear the word education, what's the first picture in your mind?
Honestly, a school desk, a thick exam paper, and my teacher walking between the rows saying, 5 minutes left. My heart is like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, same. I see a report card with marks, red pen, and my parents asking, "So, how did you do?"
I think many people listening know that feeling. For a long time, education meant marks, grades, and pressure.
And maybe late nights, too. I remember trying to cram for an exam, just pushing a lot of information into my brain the night before.
I did that too. All month I relaxed, and then I tried to become a genius in one night.
Spoiler, it didn't work very well.
And it wasn't only cramming. Many times we had to learn by heart long answers, full texts that we just repeated in the test.
Yeah, sometimes it felt like we weren't really understanding. We were just copying what the teacher said, word for word.
That's what I call being a bit spoon-fed. The teacher gives every spoon of information, and the students don't really cook anything themselves.
So, as we've both felt, education often starts as sit still, listen, copy, cram for the exam, learn by heart, and try not to make mistakes.
And if you're listening and saying, yes, that was my school life, you're not alone.
But, to be fair, exams are not only negative. They also do something useful.
Right. Let's be fair to exams for a moment. What do you think they're good at?
I think exams give structure. You have a date, a subject, and a clear goal. That can push you to study when you feel lazy. Without a test, many of us might never open the book.
True. A deadline can be a good push.
Also, exams can show that you know the basic information in a subject. They can help you become book smart, good with theory, facts, and what is written in textbooks.
And book smart is not a bad thing. It means you can understand ideas, remember details, and work with information. That's useful in many parts of life, like university, planning, or learning new things later.
So, as we said, exams can train discipline, focus, and memory. Those are real skills.
But we also know they don't show the full picture.
Exactly. Let's talk about where they fall short, where exams are not enough on their own.
Imagine a student who always gets top marks. They remember everything, they write the perfect answers. On paper, they look amazing.
We can say they tick all the boxes. Their marks, their report, their CV, they match all the requirements the system wants.
But then, this same person has to lead a small team or solve a new problem at work or handle an angry customer, and suddenly they don't know what to do.
That's when we see the difference between book smart and street smart.
Book smart, strong with theory, tests, information.
Street smart, strong with real situations, people, and problems.
Many schools make us very book smart, but not very street smart.
That's what we call a skill gap, a space between the skills you have and the skills you actually need in real life.
And if you feel that gap, it doesn't mean you're stupid. It usually just means your education gave you more exam practice than life practice.
So, if exams are not enough, what else do we need? We need to talk about real-life skills.
When I say real-life skills, I think of things like communicating clearly, listening, working in a team, solving problems, and managing your time and stress.
Many people call these soft skills. They're softer than maths or grammar, but they are very powerful.
For example, you need soft skills to explain an idea to your boss, to disagree politely, to comfort a friend, or to work with different personalities.
We can also talk about real-world skills or real-life skills, skills you actually use outside the classroom, like writing a clear email, planning a small project, or talking to new people.
And the nice thing is, many of these are transferable skills. You can take them from one job to another, from school to work, from your country to another country.
For example, if you learn how to explain something simply, that's a transferable skill. It helps you in teaching, customer service, management, and even in your family life.
So as we discussed earlier, exams mostly test information from books, but life also asks for soft skills, real-world skills, and transferable skills.
And we really feel this difference when we move from school to the real world.
So Jake, do you remember a moment when your exam skills were not enough in real life?
Yes. In school, I was good at English exams. I wrote nice essays and got good marks. So I thought, I'm strong in English.
Okay,
Then one day, my teacher asked me to give a short speech in front of the class, only 2 minutes. I thought, no problem, I know this topic. But when I stood up, my hands shook, my voice was small, and suddenly I forgot simple words. I couldn't think on my feet. I couldn't find the right words quickly in that moment.
Oh, I know that feeling. You know the information, but your mouth doesn't work.
Exactly. That day I understood. My exam marks didn't mean I could handle real-life speaking situations. There was a skill gap between my test skills and my real-life speaking skills.
I had a similar moment in my first job. My university marks were good, on paper. I ticked all the boxes for the position, but in meetings, I sometimes felt very small. Everyone looked confident and professional. Inside, I felt like a child who walked into the wrong room.
Whoa, that sounds like imposter syndrome, when you feel you're not good enough or you don't belong, even when your results say you do.
Yes, exactly. I had imposter syndrome. I thought, maybe they made a mistake hiring me.
And I think many listeners know that feeling too. Good marks, but low confidence.
Yes, and in those moments, we often learn the hard way that exams and real life are not the same game.
And as we said earlier, learn the hard way just means real life teaches you through a difficult experience. It's not fun, but you remember the lesson.
But the good news is those moments can also push us to grow real life skills, not only exam skills.
And one of the best ways to do that is through hands-on experience.
Totally. Hands-on experience means learning by doing, by actually being inside of the situation, not just reading about it.
Right. For example, I worked in a small cafe. At first, I was nervous taking orders and talking to customers. I made mistakes, I forgot things, I spoke too fast. But with time, I got hands-on experience. I became calmer, clearer, and kinder with people.
So, that job gave you real-world skills, right? Not from a book, but from real people standing in front of you.
Yes, I learned to solve problems in the moment, to listen, to apologize, to stay patient. Those are transferable skills I still use now in other jobs.
For me, teaching was like that. My degree gave me ideas about education, but the real learning started when I walked into a classroom. Students were tired or excited or confused. I had to change my plan, answer unexpected questions, manage time. That was real hands-on experience.
And as we discussed earlier, you can't get that from cramming for an exam. You get it from trying, making mistakes, and trying again.
So if you don't have big degrees, but you've worked, helped families, solved problems, or looked after people, remember, that is also education, real-life education.
Right. And at the same time, we know many of you still need exams for school, university, or visas. So the question is not exams or life. The question is, how do we balance both?
Right. I think one big step is to see exams as a tool, not as your value.
A tool is something you use, like a hammer or a phone. It helps you, but it doesn't decide who you are.
Your exam mark is a number, not your whole story. It shows something about one day, in one room, with one test. It doesn't measure your kindness, your courage, your creativity.
So, being book smart is useful. You can understand information and pass tests. But it's also important to grow more street smart, to feel comfortable in real situations.
Yeah, you don't have to choose. You can build both. You can study for your tests and work on your soft skills, real-world skills, and transferable skills.
For example, while you prepare for an English exam, you can also talk to people in English, even for a few minutes. Explain ideas to a friend instead of only writing them. Join a group project or a small club. Do a little volunteering or part-time work.
All of that slowly fills your skill gap, if you feel you have one.
And if you feel imposter syndrome sometimes, remember, it's normal. Many people feel like that. You're not the only one in the room asking, "Am I good enough?"
The important part is not to be perfect. It's to keep growing, step by step, through exams and through life.
So maybe a better way to think about education is this. Your exams are one part of your story, and your real-life moments are another part. Both matter.
Okay, so before we slow down for word tour, let's invite you to think about your own story for a moment.
You can ask yourself two questions. Which exam in my life felt important? Which real-life situation taught me more than that exam?
Yes, maybe it was a job interview, a presentation, a difficult conversation, or a time you made a big mistake and had to fix it.
Yeah, sometimes those real moments, when you learn the hard way, teach you more than any classroom.
And all of that is part of your education, not just the marks on your paper.
So, Anna, I think we shared a lot today about exams, real-life skills, and how they work together.
And now let's slow everything down and look at some of the useful phrases we used one by one.
Yeah, it's word tour time. Slow, simple, and clear.
First word, book smart.
Book smart describes someone who is good with theory and exams. They know what's in the book, they remember information, and they usually get good marks.
For example, my sister is very book smart. She always gets top scores in her exams.
Or, he's book smart, but he feels shy in real meetings.
Second word, street smart.
Street smart is the other side. It describes someone who is good in real life. They can handle people, problems, and new situations even without a book.
For example, she's not top of the class, but she's really street smart at work.
Or, you need to be street smart when you travel alone in a new city.
Another important term, soft skills.
Soft skills are people skills, like communication, teamwork, listening, empathy, and leadership.
For example, many companies now care a lot about soft skills, not only exam marks.
Or, his soft skills are great. He listens, explains clearly, and people trust him.
Let's look at real-world skills or real-life skills.
These are skills you use outside the classroom, in daily life and at work. Things like writing emails, solving real problems, and talking to people.
For example, school gave me grammar, but travel gave me real-world skills.
Or, we need real-life skills to handle money, time, and relationships.
Here's another useful phrase, hands-on experience.
Hands-on experience means learning by doing a real task, not just reading or listening.
For example, working in a cafe gave me hands-on experience with customers.
Or, you can read about teaching, but you only get hands-on experience when you stand in front of a class.
Now something very exam-focused. Cram for an exam.
This is when you study a lot in a very short time, usually right before the test.
For example, I didn't study all month, so I had to cram for the exam last night.
Or, when I cram for an exam, I feel tired and stressed the next day.
Another exam phrase, learn by heart.
This means memorize something completely, so you can say it without looking.
For example, we had to learn by heart 3 long answers for the history exam.
Or, I learned by heart a perfect answer, but in the interview, they asked a different question.
Let's talk about tick all the boxes.
This means match all the requirements. On paper, everything looks perfect.
For example, her CV ticks all the boxes. Great grades, good school, many certificates.
Or, he doesn't tick all the boxes on paper, but he's amazing in real-life work.
Another powerful one, think on your feet.
Think on your feet means respond quickly and clearly in a new situation without time to prepare.
For example, in job interviews, they want to see if you can think on your feet.
Or, teaching live classes taught me to think on my feet when students ask surprise questions.
Now a big idea, skill gap.
A skill gap is the difference between the skills you have and the skills you need.
For example, my marks were good, but there was a skill gap when I started my first job.
Or, If you feel a skill gap in speaking, you can close it slowly with practice.
Another helpful term, transferable skills.
Transferable skills are skills you can use in many different jobs and situations.
For example, communication and problem solving are transferable skills.
Or, my part-time job gave me transferable skills I still use today.
Let's add learn the hard way.
Learn the hard way means learn from a difficult or painful real experience.
For example, I didn't prepare for the meeting, and I learned the hard way when my boss asked questions.
Or, he learned the hard way that cramming the night before doesn't always work.
And this word is about how school sometimes feels, spoon-fed.
Spoon-fed describes a way of teaching where students get everything given to them and don't think for themselves.
For example, at school we were spoon-fed. The teacher told us exactly what to write in the exam.
Or, when you're spoon-fed for years, real-life problems feel very scary at first.
Our last phrase today, imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome is when you feel you're not good enough or you don't belong, even when your marks or results say you are good enough.
For example, she had top grades, but she felt imposter syndrome in her first job.
Or, many language learners feel imposter syndrome. They think their English is terrible, but other people think it's good.
So these were our key words and phrases for today.
You don't need to remember all of them perfectly right now. Even if 2 or 3 stay in your mind, that's already great.
You can always listen again, and each time one more phrase will feel natural for you.
And step by step, you're not only passing exams, you're building real-life skills in English too.
This is Anna.
And this is Jake.
And you've been listening to the English Leap podcast. Bye!
Your progress doesn't end here. To continue advancing your English skills, click on the next video or explore the additional videos we've thoughtfully selected for you.